Hello class, today we're going to talk about compound interest. Now in 7th and 8th grade, especially in 8th grade, there are two types of interest you have to know how to do. Simple interest and compound interest. The past 2 days we've been talking about simple interest, so today we step it up to compound interest and we find the differences between those. The first difference that you're going to notice is the formula. The formula is quite different. This formula is A is equal to P, parenthesis, 1 plus R, close parenthesis, raised to the T, okay? So the only letter that's new in this particular formula is the A, and the A stands for amount. That's all it really stands for. But the way I want you to think about it is A stands for all of it. Okay, all of it is referring to the balance. And we know that balance is nothing but principal plus interest. Well, in the simple interest formula, if I wanted to find the balance, I had to take the principal amount and the interest amount and add those together. Well, in the compound interest formula, the A is already the balance. So when you hit the enter key in this particular formula, you're going to get an amount greater than what you started with because it's going to incorporate your principal and your interest together. So in order for us to find the principal amount or the starting value, you're going to have to subtract out the amount that you started with to find out the amount of interest, okay? So it says with compound interest, you solve for the total amount first. Then you subtract the principal amount out to find the interest, okay? So let's see if we can do a couple questions. So here is kind of what it looks like. The A stands for the total amount, principal plus interest. The P is still principal. The R is still interest rate. You still have to have it as a decimal. And the T is still time in years. So here's our first problem. You've got $1,500 at 16% interest compounded annually for 8 years. And that's going to be the phrase that you're going to hear often, compounded annually. That means it's done every single year. With simple interest, basically what happens is you take your total amount, the amount you borrowed or the amount that you invested, you calculate interest on that for however long it is, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So it's the total amount of interest that you're going to have overall. So it does it all at one time. So it kind of pretends like the amount's been there for the whole time and it calculates interest one time. That's all it does. Compound interest is a little bit different. It's going to calculate interest every single year. So let's say you invest $1,000. You got $1,000 at 5% interest, and you're going to do it for 4 years. But what it's going to do is it's going to take that $1,000. At the end of the first year, it's going to calculate interest, and it's going to add it to the amount. So all during that second year accumulating interest, you're going to have a greater amount than you started with at the beginning. Then it's going to calculate interest again at the end of the second year and add it to the amount. So the amount that you start off with in the third year is greater than what you had in the second year, and so on. It's going to do that every single year. So your interest amounts are going to vary. So here we go. We got $1,500 at 16% interest compounded annually for 8 years. So the $1,500 is still my principal amount. The 16% is still my interest rate. I still have to change that to a decimal. And my years is still, my time is still in years, but it's just this time my 8 is actually an exponent. So I'm still looking for the A. I'm looking for all of it. So the way you're going to type this one in is exactly the way it's written. 1,500, parenthesis, 1 plus 0.16, close parenthesis, exponent, 8. And on a lot of these, because of that exponent, you are going to get some ugly answers. So we need to remember that we round to the nearest cent. So the A, the all of it, is $4,917. And since it's 0.622, it's just 62 cents. And you add your dollar sign. Now, in order to find the amount of interest, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that A amount that I just wrote down, and I'm going to subtract out the original principal that I started with. So the amount of interest that I earned on that account over that 8 years was $3,417.62. So that's how you do it. It's just a matter of typing in things, plugging in numbers into a formula, and doing the math on the calculator. So let's do another one. Here we've got $34,100 at 4% interest compounded annually for 3 years. Sounds very similar to a problem we had with simple interest. So we start off with, I'm looking for A. The principal amount is $34,100. Parenthesis, 1 plus, you still take that interest rate, you convert it to a decimal, and your time becomes an exponent. Okay, so now we just go to our calculator, we type it in, 34,100, parenthesis, 1 plus 0.04, close parenthesis, raised to the exponent, 3, enter, boom, and we have our answer. So our answer, our A, is $38,357.86. Because that 86, there's a 2 next, so it doesn't do anything to the 6. And you put your dollar sign. And that's all there is to it. In compound interest, they're going to ask you 2 questions. They're going to ask you, what is the balance and how much interest have you earned? They will only ask you those 2 questions. So let's do one more, and then we'll call it a day. So here we got $4,000 at 3% interest compounded annually for 4 years. So in this one, I don't know my total amount. So I do know my principal is $4,000. I do know my interest rate is 3%, so 1 plus 0.03. And I know my time is 4 years. So we go to our calculator, type it in. 4,000, parenthesis, 1 plus 0.03, close parenthesis, exponent, 4, enter. So the A is 4,502.0. And if you look at this, it's 0.035, so that 5 is big enough to bump the 3. So that becomes a 4. We add a dollar sign and we're done. Now, if this question also asked for how much interest have you earned, you're then going to take your 4,502.04 and subtract out the original amount that we started with, our principal. So 4,502.04 minus 4,000, and you end up with amount of interest is $502.04. And that's all there is to calculating compound interest. So until next time, I'll see you later.